All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jim Ostrowski. I work in Environmental Support Division here at Eagle. Just going to get us kicked off with some general housekeeping things. I think most of you already know this from participating in the meetings in the past, but for those that forgot, um, all lines are muted, or if you would, please keep your line muted if you're on the microphone or a phone. Please keep it muted unless you're are speaking. If you would, please refrain from using the chat function for official comments. If you want to make a comment or be recognized by the chair, you can use the raise hand icon. Press on that and it'll let the chair know that you want to speak. Just a reminder, the meeting is being recorded and cameras are optional. If you want to use your camera, you can just click on the camera button on your toolbar. All the functions are available on your toolbar there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, do I give it to Jim or to Laura?
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. And I'm hoping I can give just another minute here. I was getting several requests as we were closing in on the time for the meeting, asking for the meeting link, because I think it's been kind of getting lost in the flurry of emails that we've all been sending out to each other. So I do want to make sure that folks can get logged on and can check that email to make sure that they've got the correct link. And if everybody's able to see the slide presentation for today, we'll be working off of that for our agenda. I guess while we're waiting for kind of our last group of folks to get logged in here, I'll say welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. This has definitely been a journey to get here to 2 years later from the appointment of this council, and I'm really proud to be able to look at that report and look at all of the work that this group has done. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Laura Campbell. I'm one of your co-chairs for this Water Use Advisory Council. I'm with Michigan Farm Bureau, and I'm joined today by my other co-chairs, Brian Burrows from Trout Unlimited and Brian Eggers from AKT Peerless, representing the Chamber of Commerce. And I think what I'll do is, if we can go ahead and get started through our agenda piece. Hopefully you've received a copy of the agenda for this meeting today in one of those emails, and we appreciate your patience with kind of searching through your background of emails that you're getting related to this council to be able to find that agenda. But we will start, as we usually do, with our roll call. And we'll do it the way that we've found has worked pretty well the last couple of meetings, in which I will go through and ask for the roll, and then we'll ask if there are any objections or amendments to the minutes from last meeting, and if there are any additions to today's agenda. Don't forget, because of the rules that the state has established for Open Meetings Act for online meetings, when you respond to the roll call, if you would please let us know where you are connecting from. So let us know what city you're in when you respond. And if it's all right, I'll go ahead and get started with roll. I think I've given a couple minutes here for folks to join on. Margaret Bettenhausen.
Here in East Lansing, no changes.
Thank you. And as you're responding to the roll, I will ask separately for any changes to the meeting minutes and to today's agenda. So if you just want to let us know that you're here and where you're calling or connecting in from, that'll be totally fine. Tammy Newcomb. Charlie Scott. Chris Alexander.
Here, Okemos.
Thank you. Doug Needham.
Here, Okemos.
Thank you. James Clift.
Here, Lansing, Michigan.
Thank you. Steve Kohler.
Here, Kalamazoo.
Thank you. Tom Zimnicki.
Here, Lansing.
Thank you. Dave Hamilton.
Here, Hazlitt.
Thank you. Frank Edowagishik.
I am here. I'm in Harbor Springs.
Thank you. Jim Nicholas.
Jim is probably not going to be here today.
Okay, thank you. Mike Gallagher. Pat Stetskevitz.
I'm here, Grand Haven, Michigan.
Thank you. Jim Johnson.
Laura, I'll be here for Jim. Abby Eaton, East Lansing.
Thank you. John Yelich.
Here, Pawpaw, Michigan.
All right, thank you. Brian Eggers.
Here in Bay City, Michigan.
Thank you. Brian Burrows.
I'm present in DeWitt, Michigan.
Okay, thank you. Scott DuBois.
Here in Portage, Michigan.
Thank you. Buddy Sebastian. Jason Walther.
Hi, Laura. This is Kelly Turner. I'm here for Jason today from calling in from Heartland, Michigan.
All right, thank you. Kyle Rora. And I think we got a note from Tom Frazier saying he was not going to be here today. So, Tom, if you are here, let me know. All right, and I am connecting in from East Lansing, so I think we've got our members set. Is there any member or alternate who is online who I have not called?
This is Mike Frederick, representing the Michigan Groundwater Association, and Buddy Sebastian.
All right, hi Mike, thank you.
Calling from downtown Lansing.
Yay!
I think I'm the only one here.
That even looks like a real office and everything.
It is. It's not a fake background.
Any other members or alternates who haven't been called or who didn't hear your name?
Hi, this is.
I got Clay. Who else?
Hi, Granetta Tomasi with Tip of the Mitt Watershed Council.
Okay, thank you.
This is Clyde Dugan, Michigan AWWA, Okemos, Michigan.
Thank you. Anybody
Rachel
else?
Proctor with Consumers
Rachel?
Energy.
All right, gotcha.
Ben Terrell, Farm Bureau. Laura, I don't know if you called me.
I did not. Thank you for letting me know. Anybody else? All right, thank you, everybody. At this time, I'm going to ask if there are any suggested changes to today's agenda. And silence means assent. Also at this time, ask if there are any changes or amendments anyone wants to make to the minutes from our November meeting. And hearing none, we're going to consider both of those to be approved for today. Next, I'm going to ask for if there is any public comment. You will have another opportunity to bring up general topics at the end of this meeting, but for now, if there's any public comment on agenda items, this would be the time to bring those up.
Laura, this is Dave Lush. Just wanted it noted that I'm online.
Thank you, Dave. Any public comments on agenda items for today? All right, I am hearing none, so I think we will go ahead and move forward with our agenda for today. I'm going to turn it over to my co-chair, Brian Eggers, for the next segment of our meeting.
Okay, thank you, Laura, and welcome everybody. I am in charge of leading our discussion on the final edits for the legislative report. And maybe I will start this out with a late notice that there was a couple of edits presented yesterday, Laura, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I have not had a chance to review those. Do you want to lead this portion of the discussion, Laura?
Sure. And I want to thank everybody for taking one more look through the report. I did get some recommended edits last night that were sent our way, and what I am suggesting is that we might want to kind of go through some of those, because whereas some of them are just some wordsmithing changes, I want to be very sensitive to make sure that we are not changing things that are substantive to these recommendations without making sure that there isn't objection from the rest of the council, and particularly from the subcommittees that put these recommendations forward. So if it would be helpful, I don't know if it would be better for me to just share my screen to show what those recommended changes are, and folks can kind of take a look at them, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, please do that.
Okay, I will go ahead and share my screen then. And I will try to make it bigger so that everybody can see it. Okay, is everybody able to see that okay?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I know sometimes it's a little hard to take a look at, especially if you're using an iPad or a mobile device. I think a lot of this is from, starting up here, this is from just our brief summary of the recommendation. So I'm right up here at the beginning of the document. A lot of you saw that this that we've got our cover page, our executive summary, and then our summary of recommendations. And there's several recommended changes that looks like to me to be largely wordsmithing, but like I said, I do want to make sure that that there either is no objection, or if there is recommended changes to this language, that folks can bring that up, because we don't want to submit this and have people say that's not what I meant to say. Is there anybody who is on the phone who's not able to see what I'm posting on the screen?
That looks fine to me, Laura.
Laura, this is Dave Lush. I authored the Integrated Water Management Database recommendation, and that looks fine as a change to me.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Hearing no objections, let's move on. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have one question under 2A.
Mm-hmm.
We added retrained.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if that changes it from trained to trained, and retrained are two different things, right? So are we training people who have not done this before, or are we retraining people who have done it before but just aren't doing it correctly?
Good question.
The latter. Because we're trying to be consistent in what they do, and we find that they've migrated away from what they should be doing.
Well, I'm wondering, John, if we should have both in there, because there will be new people coming in eventually, right? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, I didn't want to do a redundant. You're right, because we're also doing the training with the new drillers that are going through the licensing process, and that's one segment that we do. And then the retraining is to go out to the different regions when they're having their regional drillers meetings. And that's where we haul the 3,000 pounds of core around and do the retraining. So yes, it's both train and retrain, but I opted to put retrain in there.
I think it may be just keep leaving it as trained would cover
Okay.
both. I think trained and retrained is just becoming very
That's
wordy and I'm not sure necessary.
That's fine.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we move on this section?
When in that same vein where it says we've taken out accurate soil profile and well data and we've replaced it, is that subsurface and well completion date? Like, to me, those are different information. Like, that seems different than what was there originally.
That is correct. Soil is only the top surface. This is subsurface data once they tap the ground going down. So it's a subsurface information.
Okay. And then we added the word completion to well data. When I read that as a layperson, it's just like, when was this completed? But does that completion include more information?
This includes not just training by the survey to do this, but also the water division as well as the drinking water division in completing the data. So this is a combined training program, as you'll see differently below.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
John, your description, that kind of makes it sound like it would almost be better to not include the word completion, just because it's more encompassing of if you just say well data to include a lot of different types of data about the well.
Okay, you're right. That's correct. I just wanted to make sure we were showing them how to complete the log correctly.
Okay.
Good.
Any other thoughts?
Small thing, Laura, on 1A, just double checking, there is a typo there on the second word. Was it meant to be geologic and hydrologic or hydrogeologic?
It's John's hydrogeologic, which is subsurface data.
Hydrogeologic. Look at that spelling check. Good addition.
I did it.
And, my only comment there is that I know that those are two type, but I think in the integrated water management database, it was meant to be so to be hydrologic and actually we've contemplated trying to make it useful for also facilitating water quality.
Yep.
Data collection. So it is probably broader than those.
Well, we could put the other ones in there too.
Well, would it be still appropriate rather than specifying the data collection, since the actual report itself does go into a fair amount of detail on what it is that's being collected, if we just say data collection, since this is kind of the summary?
The concern I have is that some people are not going to read beyond this.
We could use hydrologic instead of hydrogeologic. That's a broader term.
Any thoughts about that? Geologic and hydrologic data?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Mike Gallagher has a question.
Yeah, Mike, yeah, I apologize. Well, I've got my screen up. I cannot see people's hands raised, so thank you for pointing that out.
Nope, I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just happy to arrive here.
Well, we're glad to have you. All right, and since you are here, I want to make sure and mark you here. Mike, where are you dialing in from?
Richland, Michigan.
Okay, thank you. All right. If there's no other thoughts or comments, we can move on. Okay, so we've got, sorry, this is kind of split between two pages here. Recommendations for new operations. This is still in the summary, related to the Michigan Hydrologic Framework. This is recommending saying at least 3 regional models would be created as part of this to assess water withdrawal impacts. Dave Hamilton, what's your thought about that? Because I seem to remember you were pretty
Yeah.
specific about the 3 models that you wanted to create.
Right, we budgeted for 3. I'd love to have more, but that's what we budgeted for.
And the reason that I'm saying that is that the budget could change between now and when we get it, but the goal target is at least 3. So if we had enough money to do 4, you'd do 4. But I'd hate to shut it off when we may have that many different areas that we need to be doing.
I don't think it shuts off more.
Well, I thought it did by saying at least 3. That was I said it.
Well, I guess I would have the same question for number 2 then, John, because it says in up to 25. So you're capping it basically at 25 instead of leaving it open for more.
That is to target the finite number of 10 years to do that for up to 25 counties. And I mean, I was trying to provide it so that it at least said this was the target we were trying to achieve based on the county list that we have right now between the Water Division and MPART.
Strong thoughts about this?
I
guess the only thing I have is back to the at least 3.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, I mean, the budget is very clear, and if there was more money, then it would obviously be a different budget, and I'd be glad to get more money. And if John's offering, I'll take it.
No, I'm just thinking your budget's going to be less, Dave. Your budget's going to be less. I'm hoping that it is less. So we
I think that's optimism for your efficiency.
Yeah,
That's fine. You can take it out. I wanted to say if we could get it done for less, we just do more.
If we can, we will.
Okay. And John, this data collection and mapping, you've included the words aggregate assessments. I don't see that that's an issue because you described that in the.
I did, and I had second thoughts after doing that because.
If you want to take it out, now's your chance.
I'm gonna leave it there, but what I'm going to put in there is sand and gravel, because it has to do with wherever we have sand and gravel, we have groundwater, and we also have surface water impacts that could be associated with it. And aggregates happens to be the combined word of that material. And I'd like to change it to sand and gravel assessments, because that's what we're really looking at, is where is the sand and gravel near the surface.
You want this to say sand and gravel?
If we can, that's what I'd rather do, because then it just talks about what we're doing in the mapping is we're identifying where those are at. And we're not doing an assessment of whether or not it's quality aggregate, it's just sand and gravel.
Okay. National Groundwater Monitoring Network. Thank you for catching that. That's a name of a thing. Still in the summary here, an additional change, 3D glacial aquifer mapping. There's a recommendation to add that this is going to be compared with Geological Survey 3D interpretations.
And
Dave Lush, thoughts about that?
Yeah, this is my comment, Dave, is this was because we have already mapped that. We can then see if there's a comparative basis for doing this particular program versus the mapping program, because we've got the data right now that we've mapped.
That's true, but I'm not aware that a standard product of your recent county mapping is a true wall-to-wall 3D geologic model.
The quick answer.
If it is, then this is fine, but I wasn't sure that that was a standard product.
Today, it is not. We have the budget right now to do that through USGS. That's what we're doing right now in our compilation through USGS.
I guess I'm okay with this because we go into much more detail in the description, so I don't think this alters the intent of the recommendation. So that's fine.
Thank you. I didn't think so. I just wanted to make sure it was there.
Okay. Christine Spitzley, if you're on, nice job with putting this formatting together. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. I hope the pictures worked out. It's really hard.
They're very nice. Look at that. Yep. I like that picture.
They're a little bit, it's hard to find pictures of groundwater. So.
All right. We are now here at the introduction of the main body of the report. I'm going to recommend we take this word identify out, not because I don't agree with it, but because it's a quote from the 2014 report, and we shouldn't therefore change it.
Good.
Let's see, I'm trying to move fairly quickly here. Annual water use reporting. Thank you for catching that. I'm kind of trying to skip past just stuff that's like minor wordsmithing.
Fine.
And get to things that are potentially a more substantive thing. Okay, Michigan Integrated Water Management Database. So this is the actual body of the report. This is the lengthier description of those projects. I think this is supposed to be data, John? Quality.
Yes, okay. Yes, it was. It was late.
That's all right. Oops. What do you guys see that this that these changes change the intent of this report? And I'll ask for feedback from our committees. Brian, Dave.
Yeah, the sentence, all these programs rely on sophisticated models, is different than they rely on quality data input to sophisticated models.
Well, you're saying that it doesn't rely on quality data?
No, I'm not saying that, but the emphasis in that sentence is talking about the sophisticated models and the technical analysis that is done. And the reason we need that, or we want data to support that, but we're saying that through this whole paragraph. I think it changes the meaning of that sentence so to move it away from why we need the data.
I think also because the following sentence, so the way it was originally written, all these programs rely on sophisticated models and technical analysis to accomplish their goals. The very next sentence then talks about the data. These all require high quality data and enough data to adequately define water resources in Michigan. John, do you feel like that's
fine.
sufficient to describe what you were getting at here?
Yep, I was being
okay.
redundant. Sorry.
All right.
Hey, Laura, this is Doug. Back on page 12, you missed just one thing. I just want to make sure that one is fine too.
Oh, yep. Very good. Thank you. Optimizing efficient control and use of water within the agriculture industry. I guess thank you for pointing that out. I guess that makes me a little nervous because not that I want to discount efficiency of use in the agriculture industry, but I guess I don't want this to be misinterpreted to mean that farmers want to control all the water.
That's kind of that's what jumped out at me. Is it just it just seemed a little bit more than what we needed.
John, I'm going to recommend we remove those words.
Okay, that's fine. And let me just tell you why I was using it.
Yep.
It has to do with areas of the country where we have under drains and where we're using essentially surface drainage to go ahead and capture water that's running off and then reusing it again, because it's not all groundwater, but it's the control of all of the water that's going on, whether it's rain or man-made application. And that's the reason that I thought of control, because I know we're looking at it in two different areas of trying to reuse the water that is running off of the property so that we're not contaminating the streams. So I'm fine with it, but that was what my thought was about.
Okay.
Right,
yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Look at you guys being all eagle-eyed and stuff. Any other last thoughts about this, about the integrated management database stuff here?
Hold on, the spelling on, that's right, I'm just trying to check on this page 14.
Yep.
That one.
Which one?
Oh, you
lithology?
corrected it. You corrected it. Okay.
Oh,
I see.
yep.
Oh, you good.
Okay. All right. Will also be necessary to gather and collate data on glacial geology, static water levels, and aquifer characteristics. Do we need to repeat where the files are coming from since we've talked about them in the previous sentence?
I did that for redundancy to make sure that that's an important resource that we have for that data. That was the only reason that I did that.
Okay. Do you feel like it's adequately covered in the previous sentence?
I didn't. That's why I put it in there. If somebody else has a feeling, that's fine, but that was why I specifically said it.
Yeah,
that's a huge data.
I don't think we need redundancy. And if we're going to do that, then I think we go back to what's 201 and 213. You have to elaborate on what that is.
And that's why I did it, because it didn't.
No, I mean, you've got it ahead of that.
Yeah, the previous sentence, does talk about that, where it says much groundwater data are in this form, monitoring well data collected under parts 115, which is solid waste management, 201, environmental remediation, or 213, leaking underground storage tanks of the NREPA.
Okay, that's fine. Again,
okay.
Re-emphasizing.
Okay. Thoughts, objections to kind of the minor changes throughout here? We're adding standardized to the list of what we're doing with the data through this water management database. So standardized, verified, stored, and made accessible. Develop, compile, derive the database. Okay.
Is this the first time we've mentioned Michigan Geological Survey so that we need to spell it out? And I can't recall.
I don't.
I can't either, but we can double check that.
Okay.
I have a question about the word standardized. So how would it be standardized? Like, I guess that worries me a little bit about what that could actually mean.
It was meant to imply essentially a fixed data dictionary so that every data element is defined and everybody knows what the definition is, so that we're not using multiple different phraseologies or terms to describe the same thing.
Can we put standardized terms maybe in there? Would make me feel a little better. When you talk about standardizing data, it could have a different meaning when it comes to statistics.
How about standardized formatting?
That'll cover it all, I think, Dave. Good suggestion.
well, and I guess I like formatting from the standpoint of the first thing I thought of when I read standardized was, for instance, making sure all of the units match. We managed to crash a Mars lander because of that mistake.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, Laura. Thanks.
Laura, this is Jim. In the recommended actions paragraph, where you're listing other parts of the NREPA, you're missing part 111, hazardous waste management.
Okay. Should that also be added to this previous description, the paragraph where it says monitoring well data collected under parts 115, 201, or 213?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, add it to both.
And what is 111 again? Hazardous waste management?
Yep, hazardous waste management.
Okay. Alrighty. Well driller training. Oh, we've got updated
Laura, just,
dates and I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just check before you go that back up where you have the standardized formatting. There's just you'll just have to change have or are.
Oh, there we go.
Just a language thing.
Good catch.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you. Okay.
I think we might have the same situation with the word standardization here, unless.
This is a broad term to teach the drillers how they need to be looking at things in a standard manner. And each one of them are drilling in different areas, so you can't be implicit about what it is, but it's just make sure they're consistent.
In this context, I think standardization of lithologic descriptions is very important, because that's been a long-standing issue.
Okay.
Should we pull out the word refresher trainings out of here, even though, because we talked about it's not just training for those who've been trained, but.
Well, it's a combination of both. I guess if we left it silent, that's fine, because the training is going to be at the annual meeting for Vancouver, plus going up and meeting with all of the drillers in their area.
On the standardization, do we need what Jim just said, standardization of lithology?
Would the standardization apply to other things besides just lithology?
No, it's just the description, the standardization of the description of lithology. Correct?
Right. Yes. And that's in the rest of the sentence, the way that it's written there. Increasing the accuracy of the subsurface geologic data.
What do you guys think? Do we need to add standardization of lithologic descriptions?
I think it helps.
Okay.
I don't think it's clear without it.
I agree.
Good. New eyes.
Good.
All right. least 2 students. Hey, they're your students.
Not picking up 150-pound boxes anymore.
Right? You might need a couple extra students. Oh, thank you for catching our grammar there. Another awesome picture. Look at that. Okay, hydrologic framework. And I apologize for John, you had added a whole sentence here, and I replaced it with just
thank you
suggesting a simple one-word addition in order to make that look a little cleaner.
Thank you.
Dave Hamilton, are you okay with that?
Let me look at that for a second here.
Okay,
so a simplified example of how.
Yep, we're referring to figure 2, which is the picture right here at the bottom of the screen.
I mean, it's showing how they're done. It's not trying to imply anything beyond that. That's fine.
Okay. Do we need to say both geologic and lithologic strata for groundwater model data?
I wanted to use that to make sure that we are putting lithologies in there.
Should it be geologic and lithologic strata?
Do we drop the geologic?
What's your preference there, Dave?
I'm fine with either. I don't understand why we need both.
Yeah, I think just strike geologic and keep lithologic.
Okay.
That's fine.
That's fine with me.
Okay. So summary of the Michigan Hydrologic Framework capabilities. One of its, the number 7 is facilitate creation of models that link climate, surface waters, geologic change, and shallow groundwater.
Someone needs to explain what geologic change is.
Because the geology is not the same wherever we go, it changes. And that's the reason that we're doing multiple models, is because it's in different basins that have a different subsurface geology.
These are talking about, in the sense of this, you would say that in one location, the geology is changing.
That it does.
So we don't have a static geology below us.
Mm.
I mean, I understand the plates are moving, but
no. Okay. I can drill 2 holes a mile apart in the.
I understand that, John, but I don't understand how this fits into this sentence.
Is it any better if you say lithologic change instead of geologic change?
I think Dave's getting that this is meant to show temporal change, not spatial variability.
Thank you. That's the word I wanted.
So you want to add?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No, that's the argument to not include geologic change. It's something different than what the rest of the sentence is.
So how do we map that the geology is changing?
Yeah, I have the same question that John does, because it's not the same underground. I've seen where in monitoring wells, even ones that are in the same field, where it changes. So I definitely see his point in adding it.
Well, I mean, that's a given. I mean, I'm actually astonished that we have to point that out. And if it does need to be pointed out, I'm trying to think of the best way to do it, because the complexity of groundwater is inherent. I mean, there's nothing in here that implies that it isn't complex.
How about spatial geologic changes?
How about
But
geologic heterogeneity?
There you go.
We're going down a path.
Yeah, this is James. Is it any
I
more
feel
than
like I'm right back at
geologic?
annual meeting looking through the delegate book.
Is it just geologic conditions? Is it actual change?
Well, the geology does change, James.
But that's not what the model isn't trying to capture that. You just want a model that links climate, surface water, geology, shallow groundwater, and the rest of the things.
Can we just say geology and have it be kind of all encompassing for all that stuff?
No, because the geology temporally is not changing. And so this is looking at temporal changes. So if you want to add somewhere in the introduction stuff that we have complex geology that changes across the state, if it's not already there, we can put something in there, but it doesn't belong here.
Yeah, I don't see it adding anything to this sentence.
Correct.
Well, the outcome's still the same without that addition. I don't see the outcome changing at all, the purpose of that sentence, so.
All right, I just thought that it ought to be noted that it's changing.
So, John, would you be okay with substituting aquifer properties?
That's fine, because that's geology.
Okay.
Because that's essentially what we do is.
Yeah.
Dave Hamilton, what do you?
Well, that's not changing temporally.
No,
either.
I'm not saying change. I'm saying replace geologic change with aquifer properties.
Okay, so creation
that's what Dave Lush is suggesting.
Waters, aquifer property.
I'm a big fan of the Oxford comma.
Is the key here the verb link? Because is your model linking those things?
Should be.
I mean, it's linking climate, surface water, and shallow groundwater. That's what we're linking.
Right.
That sounds to me then like that whole phrase ought to go.
Yes.
All right, pull it. I just wanted to make sure that we are looking at the fact that there are changes in every one of these.
Okay, geologic data collection and mapping in targeted areas. This has got some substance added to it, so I'll let everybody take a look and read that and see what you think.
I'm suggesting to take out aggregate and put near surface sand and gravel and then period.
Not use the word resources either?
Not use aggregate resources, because we're not doing an aggregate resource assessment. We're just identifying sand and gravel, but it's just that aggregates and potential near surface resources are sand and gravel, but we're not doing anything to do with an aggregate assessment. It really has to do with near surface groundwater impacts from spills, releases, other things.
This makes a little same issue in the next paragraph.
Yep. Taking out aggregate again.
Yep.
I think it looks okay.
It's necessary so that MGS can secure metrics. Matching funds from the federal USGS National Cooperative Geologic Mapping Program. This sentence structure is not grammatically correct though.
Okay.
Such funding is necessary so that MGS can secure matching funds from the federal USGS National Cooperative Geologic Mapping Program. There needs to be a phrase. There needs to be a word in here between that and your new phrase.
To receive up to at least.
Boy, I sure do love typing when everybody can see the mistakes I made. Okay.
In the follow on to that sentence you just edited, should it be and ensure mapping products will meet USGS data quality standards?
Actually, we can't propose and we can't get a new grant unless we met the previous month, met the standards on the previous submittal. So.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because that's the way the proposals are written. If we don't meet the standards, we don't get money the next time. Good point.
Okay, so that would be which ensures mapping products meet USGS data quality standards.
Correct, which would be a final map product that is standard for everybody to use.
Okay. And then these mapping products would be publicly available to be used by multiple Eagle divisions, DNR, and MDARD programs.
Right.
Okay. Any last thoughts on that before we move on? We're getting through it, guys. Thank you for your patience on this.
Thank you. That's the list of the counties.
Yep. I'm just kind of trying to go through and identify any changes that that were proposed here. Okay. User interface update. This information could be useful to WAT users for proposing prospective public withdrawals.
And my reason for that is, and Jim Milne helped me here, can a city be denied water by going through the process for type 1 well?
Technically, type 1 wells are exempt from the 327 requirements because there are parallel requirements in the Safe Drinking Water Act, which includes what we call doing a pre-screening review. That's essentially the equivalent of a site-specific review if they can't pass the tool.
Okay, so that's not needed then. I just didn't know that with that rule that can be taken out. That's the reason I put it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just not a factually correct change. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did it for another reason. And Jim Clark.
All righty. High capacity wells.
Can you scroll back up, please, Laura? I missed something. Yeah, hang on right there.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we need to take the high capacity well out because we actually are proposing to calculate the transmissivity for all wells.
Okay.
Okay.
And then would that also then be taken out of here?
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. Oops. Do we need the word values? New estimates of transmissivity values into the watt?
That's fine.
Okay. And then are we also taking high capacity wells out of here?
Yes, please.
Okay. All righty. And here.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, team.
Nope, that's all right. This is why we gave everybody a last chance to do it. So like I said, I appreciate everybody's patience, but we want this product to be good. So, okay, so this is going back up to glacial aquifer mapping in 2 counties. We've got a suggestion to add a sentence here to what the contractor is going to do.
This was based on a comment from the first summary.
Oops, what is this WH? What is that supposed to be? Looks like you started a word and then didn't finish it.
That's it. Period. That's
time savings. Okay.
Right.
What's the thought about adding this sentence?
Gabe, what's your thoughts? Because this was because we are going to have 3D summaries for the 2 counties where we've actually mapped them in detail to go ahead and do that as part of the process.
Yeah, and I don't understand why that isn't accounted for with the first sentence where we refer to subjectively derived geologic model to be provided, blah, blah, blah.
That model is just using well logic data. Ours is using drilling data, lithologies, and other things, where you've actually cored sampled, sieve sampled, all of that. We have physical samples and tests.
Grammatical quibble back up at the beginning of that paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
To be provided, add a D.
Thank you.
So does this restrict us from using Todd Feenstra's geologic model as an example?
Nope. This is just comparing the information that we have from our mapping, which has probably more physical characteristics because we're doing more. He doesn't. He's using gamma logs, which we use, but he is also looking at the samples and doing grain size on it, but not sieve analysis.
Okay. Would it be okay as a friendly amendment then? Will also be compared?
Fine. I'm fine.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we move on?
Just a question. Like, it seems like we're missing something from that added sentence. Like it's an incomplete thought.
You're right. I think John
maybe
intended
remove the word program. Will also be compared to the MGS mapping completed in these 2 counties.
Okay.
A comparison of the 3D products of value and time savings. Yeah, Kelly, I guess I see what you're talking about here. This last prepositional phrase seems that needs some wordsmithing.
Yeah, because I'm not quite sure what it's trying to get to. It just seems like definitely an incomplete thought. And so, like, how does it fit in? I don't understand it.
Is it trying to define the comparison in the earlier part of the sentence?
Probably.
Yeah, maybe add resulting in a comparison.
There we go. Thank you.
Should this be of or for? 3D products of or for value and time savings?
I'm not sure we even need that phrase past the word products.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, you guys all satisfied with that as it reads?
Yeah, looks okay to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Let's see. This is related to developing the Water User Committee's user manual. Manual should address the 3 scenarios where water user committees may be convened. I'm a little concerned about this phrase. This specifically does not have sufficient water available. Because I don't want people to get hung up in the argument over, well, is there actually enough water, or is the system conservatively estimating that there's not enough water?
And the reason the water user group is written the way it is in the statute, where the agency is compelled to notice the other water users whenever we authorize a Zone C withdrawal. So there is still water available, but it's approaching Zone D, so it gives them an opportunity to manage while there's still water remaining.
Right.
And they could establish one even before that if they wanted to. So I don't think we want to try to limit it to an ARI's area.
Would we be okay to remove this?
Well, I'll ask the question this way. What would trigger somebody even wanting to do it if they could not sell the people that they have a potential for not having sufficient water for all the users?
Well, I guess the reason I would suggest maybe that we don't need this phrase is that this sentence identifies then the list of 3 occasions in which you would convene a water user committee. So following a denial, following a determination that an ARI is occurring, or self-convening to proactively manage local water resources.
But that all means that they've got a problem. There's not enough water. My reason for suggesting this is that they start it when it could lead to these 3 things. That's the reason that I put it there. And that says that you've already got a problem, which means you must start it. And I was thinking of it in the context of you should look at doing this right now so that you don't have these happen.
I don't think it says that, John. And I think the third one.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought it.
Corrected. So I think we should just drop the phrase.
All right. That's fine because.
We also have situations where it's not a new user situation. Even the current users are above the allowed limit.
Yes.
Yeah.
That part's true, James.
Okay. If we're going to drop that phrase, we should probably drop it in both places.
Yep. That's fine.
Okay. Oh, we don't need it.
Well,
preventing ARIs. We've actually already defined that phrase earlier, so we don't need that. Okay. Looking here for any other recommended changes. Oh, here we go. Okay. So now this is relating back to the information that's going into an outreach letter to landowners, well owners, to help them understand what they need to know about using the WAT tool and what their responsibilities are.
And what we did, we changed it from just some paragraphs describing what to do a Q&A summary, and that's how it evolved. And so that's the reason for this.
And that change right there is important in the case of horizontal wells where somebody installs the pump in the horizontal well after the well has been drilled.
Mm-hmm.
May not be installed by the driller.
So you're good with that change?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think grammatically pump installer is a better phrase.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, fine. Good catch.
All right. Any objections to, let's see, e.g. employee, well driller, consultant, ag irrigation equipment supplier, agricultural extension service agent, yourself.
Laura, Mike Frederick has his hand up.
Oh, yep. Thank you. Thoughts,
Thank
Mike?
you. I want to make sure that we're not dragging in too much nomenclature here. Pump installer has very different responsibilities than a registered well driller.
I think that's why they're adding the phrase, is because they want to make the distinction between the well driller, which is listed right before then,
okay,
and the pump installer, to recognize that there's a difference between a well driller and a pump and somebody who just installs a pump.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear on that. So thank you.
Yep, good catch. Thank you. I'm not sure if we need the word yourself as an authorized representative. Does it?
Well, I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, we've had some people put them in personally.
Oh. Right. But I mean, it's talking about you, the applicant, are required to register, yada, yada, yada. Your authorized representative can and should assist you in this process. So I don't know that we need to say yourself, because we're talking about an authorized representative, which kind of by definition is not you, because you can represent yourself. You're not authorizing somebody. You don't authorize yourself to represent yourself.
Yeah, you're distinguishing between the property owner and some other authorized agent.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
All right. Good communication with your well driller or authorized representative is essential. Okay. I like that. There's no objections.
Great.
Same thing here, authorized representative. Now this I wasn't really sure about because even though we've defined the acronym ARI for adverse resource impact, this is an example of a letter that's going out, or like a listed
right.
A listed FAQ for landowners. So I kind of feel like this is a good addition to make sure that we spell that out if if the language is used there. Looking for anything else here. Pump record. Okay.
Mike Frederick, do you still have another question, or just forget to lower your hand?
Sorry.
That's all right.
Jim, I wonder where the ice cream is.
Well, I can't promise ice cream, but I can promise we're at the end of the report. So, John, thank you for your diligence in going through and making suggestions. And thanks to everybody here for your patience and going through that and making sure that we're good with these changes. Christine, I will send this document that I've been editing in real time to you so that you've got those final changes.
Okay, thank you, Laura.
And I'm sorry I was late. It's just too much going on.
All right.
All right.
That's great.
Laura, with regards to the role, I don't know if you noticed this in the chat, but Tammy Newcomb did join us late.
Thank you. No, I actually couldn't see anything going on the Teams chat while I had my screen shared. So thank you for bringing that up.
Kelly Fennell also joined us.
Emily Fennell?
Emily, I'm sorry. Yes,
Emily, okay.
I'm sorry, Emily. Yes.
Thank you.
Can somebody populate the agenda again? I don't have a second screen up here. I don't have the agenda at my fingertips.
We're on process for submission legislative report.
Gotcha. So we are hopefully complete with our final edits now. And the report will be sent electronically in December to the legislator. I don't know that, are we closer to a timeline there, Laura?
Well, I mean, I think now that we've got the final report, once Christine can get those changes made and make sure that the whole thing looks real nice, we'll be ready to send it. And as we've discussed in the council before, our preference would be that the co-chairs send it on behalf of the council, rather than having it go through Eagle to distinguish that this is the council's report. And so that needs to be done before December 28th. So with those changes being pretty minor and just one last look through to make sure everything's pretty, I think we can do that. I don't know. I don't want to make promises for you, Christine. Can we do that this week yet?
Oh, we're going to do it this week because then we're on vacation.
All right. So we have a deadline. We're doing it this week.
This week, ma'am. Yes.
So to whom exactly is it sent?
All
members?
That's actually specified in the statute. So it goes to, God, I'm trying to remember this right off the top of my head, to the speaker and the majority leader and the Eagle or the Natural Resources and Environment Committee chairs. Does it go to the does it go to those departments' budget chairs too? I can't remember.
I believe it does, and we'll make sure that it gets out to.
Yeah, we'll review part 328 and make sure that it gets to that list of people. But essentially, since all of them are leaving at the end of session, what we'll be doing is once those new positions are identified, we'll be reaching back out to those people to say, hey, we submitted this in December, but it's actually for you to look at.
And then we did talk a little bit about requesting to present this to the new legislators, given some time for them to acclimate and receive their appointments as well. Anybody want to add to that? Okay. Are looking forward to establishing our 2021 council dates. Right now, the last proposal date timeline that we've discussed internally is the afternoons of the second Tuesday of the month. Seems to fit with folks. As a general sort of time slot. Any objections to that?
I'd like to make a motion that we continue having our meetings the second Tuesday of each month in the afternoon through 2021.
Kelly, is your motion specifying that you want to have monthly meetings or meetings every 2 months?
I'll say monthly, but I'm open to a friendly amendment since I don't really know what the normal status is.
I think every 2 months for the next bit would be good. We may want to go to monthly later in the year like we did this year, but personally, I think every 2 months would be fine for right now.
I would support Dave's amendment to the motion.
Okay. Well, we don't normally follow Robert's rules here, looking for a consensus rather than an absolute motion and vote. So I always like to say, are there any objections to bi-monthly?
This is Frank Edwigishik. Just a question. Would we be starting in January or February?
I guess we'd be looking at February, Frank.
Thank you.
Does that sound good to the team? Got a hand up there.
Can
yes.
Can I confirm that the motion is to keep I'm sorry, this is Christine, to keep the meetings the second Tuesday in the afternoon every other month, beginning in February?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Doug?
Yes, I'm good. I meant to lower my hand if it's not up. I like that.
All right. Jim?
I don't know if Chris Alexander has the same question in mind, but state employees have been directed to continue working remotely through at least the beginning of March, possibly longer depending on the COVID situation. But it would be helpful if there was some discussion among the executive committee about what is the will of the council. Do you want to continue having virtual meetings, or do you anticipate returning to in-person meetings? And if so, when?
Well, my reaction, Jim, to that would be that through the first half of the year, I really don't see us getting together. I'd be very surprised if we were able to get together through the first half of the year.
I would tend to agree with that. I mean, I you know, not that everybody who's on the council is required to follow guidelines for state employees, but I imagine that that either because of health orders or because of precautions from our respective employers, we're highly unlikely to have enough of a, you know, sort of majority of the council available to do in-person meetings that we'd be likely to set them before summer. And we'll probably continue in an online format.
Okay. All right, well, hearing no further objections, I think we can move on to
Brian.
Yes.
Brian, I'm sorry. This is Chris Alexander. Just to follow up to Jim's question, I think then what we might do is once we choose the dates, we will secure Teams meeting. We'll secure a link for everyone just so that we have it available. And then as time wears on throughout the year and we learn more about, you know, health and protocol, then the council can decide how we want to handle it. And then if we cancel the Teams meetings later in the year, that's fine, but we'll at least have them available. Does that sound okay?
That sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you. Doug, is your hand back up again?
No, it shows that it's down, but I'll try it again.
All right, there it goes. It's down. Anybody else?
Dave Lush has his hand up.
This is Dave Lush. Could I request that the chairpersons keep the council and all of us informed of the transmittal process and any feedback by email, so we don't have to wait for a meeting to hear what's going on with the reception of the report at the legislative end?
Oh, absolutely.
Very good. Very good. Yeah.
We don't have any intention of holding on to that stuff, because then that means that we can't volunteer you to help us respond to it and do stuff. So yeah, we're absolutely letting everybody know.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, if there's no objections, we might just copy everybody on the mailing list with the transmission of the report.
I think that would be prudent.
And then that way any response that we get can also go out to everybody who's interested.
Good. Mr. Brian Burrows, I'll hand you the gavel for the rest of the meeting.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Hello, everybody. Nice to be with you. I think the next thing up that we have on our agenda is to do some committee updates. This is the section where we were hoping just to hear from each committee about what it views or projects itself working on this coming year. And I think if Jim, if you forward it, we might be up in the data collection committee. So I'll provide this update this time. Tom, you can get it next time. Ours should be pretty simple. We did not have the data committee try to meet just prior to this meeting to kind of lay out our agenda. The data committee, and again, any of you who are interested in participating in some of it, all of it, are welcome to let us know. We'll add you to the list for this new year. We will be doing a couple of things electronically to the committee members that we have. We will review and pull out the things that the committee has already identified that it needs to continue working on. There's quite a few things that involved data priorities, data collection standards, protocols, uses of data in the program. We had quite a list of things that we did not have the time to work all the way through to the point that we wanted them to be. So we will pick those up and remind everybody of the work that's still to be done that we've already talked about. Obviously, as we go through 2021, depending upon how our recommendations land with the legislature and how funding shakes out, we could have involvement in implementing some of those recommendations that could go onto the committee's plate. But we'll also be asking committee members to help us identify any new related issues that we should be taking up and putting on our calendar as well. And you'll see either from Tom or I probably a multitude of meeting schedulers, and we'll try to secure periodic meeting dates for several months in advance. So nothing too tangible to share with the whole council right this minute, but that's kind of an overview of what we'll be doing. And again, for current committee members, you'll probably see us sending a lot of that stuff out within the next few weeks to month. And if any of you have interest in participating this time around, just let us know and we'll add you to our list. Any questions on the data committee? Okay, not seeing any. Implementing strategies committee, Laura or Doug? Don't fight over it.
Well, all right, I'll jump in here, Laura, and you clean up where I mess up. But right now, with the report being issued, the implementation strategy committee is kind of on hold just for a little bit. But after the first of the year, and once we get feedback from the legislature, we'll make sure that whatever path or whatever funding and issues are brought to us, that we make sure that we help get those moving in the right direction so we can actually implement the ideas and the suggestions that are put out in that report. But we also want to look backwards too. There's a lot of there's a number of other items that we did not include or that were not included in this report. And we just want to make sure that we don't forget about those. And we continue to look ahead for the next report, making sure as this one gets implemented, what other ones do we need to bring on board? So we're kind of at rest, at least for a little bit, but we will kick it back up after the first of the year.
Any questions for Doug? Okay, thank you. Since I don't think Jim joined us yet, Dave, do you want to provide us a models committee update?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. Unlike Doug, there's no rest for us, no rest for the wicked, I guess. We actually met yesterday. And so in your packet that came with the meeting minutes and that, there's one from the models committee that includes what our topics are. We confirm that these are our topics for next year. And before I summarize what they are, I just want to extend the invitation. If anybody would like to join the models committee, you are welcome to join it. If there's anyone that would like to participate on a work group. So you don't want to be part of the whole models committee, but there's one topic you really want to work on, let me know, or Jim Nicholas know. We'll be glad to have you join us. So I will just hit the highlights and then answer any questions. So the first one is following up to a work group that we've already started. And we're looking at what kind of tools are needed to best estimate stream flow depletion, make sure the department has the tools available to it that it needs. And we've got a work group on that. The next one is looking at return flow accounting and downstream accounting. And there's been a group that's been headed up by Troy Zorn with DNR. We met this morning. This group has done a lot of work, been showing what it would look like if we did incorporate downstream accounting and return flows into the process. It's considering whether they should do a pilot study just to be able to demonstrate what it looks like. And I suspect that will be done. There's more work that will need to be done before I think the council will be ready to deal with this whole topic. But I think that in the relatively near future, we'll probably have another update from this work group because it is a very important topic, and be able to show what this work group has done. The next one is trying to use models and apply them into the work that's being done in the program. We've listed out a number of models that we may want to look at and see if we can use. And so we've got several people interested in that. One model for sure that we're working on is the Cass County model. We're working with Todd Feenstra, and Jim Nicholas and I are facilitating some work on that. And the goal is to make sure that when that is done, that it's something that will be usable by the program. And so we're looking forward to that work being completed. The fourth one is bringing up something from the grave. This is something that a couple councils ago we spent quite a bit of time talking about, and we never did resolve it. So we're bringing this back up. This is the half max rule. If you don't remember what it was, I won't go into it right now. It's a pretty technical description as to what it is, but it has to do with how the tool itself works and how it assigns stream flow depletions. So it's a very important issue, and we're going to be digging into that again. So again, if somebody's interested in that, glad to have you on board for that work. And at some point, we'll come back to the council, describe what it is, and ultimately have some recommendations for the council. The next one is looking as to whether or not a statistical update is needed for the index flows. We're actually going to expand that work. We could look at it as it was a few years ago, which is if we had a few years of record, would that suggest that we should change our index flows? We'd like to look at this a little more comprehensively, try to better understand ways of looking at the index flow, recognizing that there are likely to be changes to the index flows in the physical reality of the world. We do not have the flexibility to change index flows under statute, but we may have changes in precipitation, and we've got to figure out how to handle that. So we're going to be looking at this in a lot more detail, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of conversation on this once we start getting close to any recommendations. The final one is something that Jim Milne had raised at our last meeting. We're going to follow up on watershed management areas that are in a depleted state. They're within the ARI zone, and there's some that may have policy issues that we'll follow up with the department as they get ready for that. But the last two are things that we have worked on, and we expect feedback from the department, and we will pursue that when we get the feedback. That's the groundwater model report format guidance and the aquifer testing work plan guidance. So that's just hitting the highlights. If there are questions, we can go in more details now if you like, or just any other questions.
Anybody have any questions for Dave? All right. Dave, you might be off the hook for now. I know you won't be spared later because a little bit of knowledge about a few of those. They will be good, big, fun, complicated discussions in the future.
These are meaty topics, so if anybody wants to work on them, let me know.
Oh, we do have Tammy. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Dave, for now, if you would please include me in the, if it's a specific work group, on the follow-up on watershed management areas that are in a depleted state.
Okay.
We will have someone from the DNR that would be plugged in there. Just need to find the right person.
Okay, thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Great. Oh, Pat, go ahead.
Could you add me to that same topic, Dave?
Okay, Pat.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And if anybody after the meeting for any of the committees thinks that you want to be linked up in part or in whole, that goes across the board. It's part of our governance is that, you know, every one of these work groups and committee is open to anybody who would like to participate. So you can follow up at any time on that, please do. All right, can you click forward? I believe we have the new topics next. Yep, all right. Pat, would you like to fill us in a little bit on where you think you guys are headed?
Sure. Well, I think we're just kind of in a holding pattern until a new topic comes up, as the name implies. You know, I know the focus has been on getting the report done. So I assume the first part of this year will just kind of be waiting until something comes up. We did have a branch, you know, a subcommittee that was formed, the Water Users Group. And so we did have a recommendation in there. And we're kind of going to be in a holding pattern until, you know, that work gets done. And so I don't know if Emily wants to jump in and give a quick update on that work. I'll pause if she would like.
Sure, thanks, Pat. I can update the council on where things stand right now with the recommendation and our efforts to try to pursue some funding partners with Michigan Sea Grant for the development of the Water User Committee User's Manual, as well as the case studies. So we have successfully developed a partnership with Michigan Sea Grant. They have agreed to co-fund this project and this recommendation as an integrated assessment research project. The next step is kind of in my court and within Eagle for us to get the approvals in place to actually award that grant to Michigan Sea Grant. So we're planning to award a grant for approximately $183,000 to match the Michigan Sea Grant fund. So it'll be a total of $350,000 that would be passed through the Sea Grant competitive process if we get a successful applicant. So we're kind of in the middle of the approval stages and hope to be able to get approvals through Eagle and get a grant award in place in January. Sea Grant's process would then put out a competitive request for proposals in the spring of 2021. And then they would actually, if they get a successful application that meets the criteria and what we're looking for, that would go through their funding process and selection process, and the grant would start in February of 2022. So it's a little bit further out, but would increase our funding that we were originally looking for to support the project. So I'm excited to report that, but we still have a few hoops to jump through to make it all happen.
Thanks, Emily. And so with that, the Water Users Group is going to be kind of in a holding pattern for this upcoming year. And what I talked to Emily about is there may be an opportunity for members of the Water Use Advisory Council to participate in this project in an advisory capacity, so that we can kind of support that work and provide some links back to this group. So we'll stay tuned on that. Obviously, a lot has to happen before that takes place, but we'll keep you in the loop on that. And so until that time, the water users group is just going to be in a bit of a holding pattern unless something comes up where we need to meet. So that's all I had for us.
Well, that's good. Thank you. And Emily and crew, thank you for the good work and forward motion. So thank you. Does anybody have any questions on those topics before we kind of roll into the next? I'm not seeing any. If you do, or you think of one, we can come back, because we're going to seamlessly transition into Emily and Kelly filling us in on our newest committee.
Thanks, Brian. I'm going to be giving the update for the Conservation Efficiency Committee, but Kelly, feel free to jump in if I miss anything. So we gave the committee a holiday from Thanksgiving to Christmas, so we have not met as a committee, but we are planning on convening the group in the new year. Hopefully in January we can get a time on people's calendars. So next slide, please. So we have a couple of things that we want to start with, focusing on organizational needs. So we do want to make sure that we have some diverse representation on the committee going forward, since this is now a standing committee. So we want to take a look at the membership that we have in place and see if we have any gaps, and do some outreach to engage a few other participants where we need to do so. And then we want to put together an annual work plan, schedule regular meetings, so folks know what to expect. We're thinking probably monthly meetings, since this will be a new standing committee, and there's some things that I know the committee didn't quite get into this fall or have enough time to address that we want to work through. So our work is going to focus on both the recommendations that were put forward in the council's report, and we want to start having some discussions to see if there's anything that the committee could undertake without funding, or potentially pursue some alternative funding. Next slide, please. So I want to give just a couple updates on the recommendation that we put forward for assessing climate, energy, water infrastructure programs and initiatives. So I did submit a program or a project description that was attached in your materials for the meeting today for a Dow Fellows project team. And that would be through the University of Michigan. And we will find out in January if we're matched with a multidisciplinary team that can help support some of the committee's work in advancing that assessment that we included in the recommendation. So one of the roles of the committee will be to serve as an advisory body for that project team to help refine their scope, and then really identify if there's some specific components of that assessment that we think they would be best suited for tackling over the next year. So those Dow Fellow projects are typically 12 months, and they would wrap up their work in December of 2021. One of the other charges to the committee will be to determine if we need to pursue some separate funding to implement that assessment and do that work. Obviously, that we made a recommendation for some funding in the council's legislative report, but if that doesn't come through, we want to also be considering some potential other funding sources when we meet in 2021 to see if we can do some of that work over the next 12 months. Particularly because we have the My Climate Plan, the Climate Council, and some of those initiatives are going to be working throughout 2021, so we want to be timely. I also have some standing meetings set up with the climate and energy programs within EGLE on a monthly basis, and so one of the things that I'll be trying to do and working with the committee is identifying some overlapping topics that come up in those monthly discussions that we may want to do a deeper dive on in the committee. Next slide, please. The other recommendation was focused on ag efficiency, and as you all know, that one came together pretty close to the time we were submitting the recommendations for the final legislative report. So there is some further work and discussion that we should have in the committee, and bringing in some of the other partners that we identified in the recommendation, including USDA. So those are a couple of things we want to try to advance around those recommendations. This last bullet was really something that ties in to, I think, all the discussions that the committee will be undertaking in 2021. One of the challenges that we ran into with the new topics work group for this group was that we were kind of struggling as committee members to really have a good handle on what are some of the current and kind of cutting edge water conservation efficiency practices and programs that are out there. and really having a common knowledge about those. So one of the things Kelly and I are considering and recommending for the committee to take a look at is inviting in some speakers from different program areas or experts in these fields to help build our knowledge base so that we can be better informed and potentially recommending some either projects or initiatives that might go into the next council list of recommendations. So I'll stop there. Kelly, is there anything I missed that you want to add?
No, you did a fantastic job. Thanks, Emily.
So I will admit, full disclosure, Kelly and I had a quick huddle on Friday, so we were trying to organize our plans for this meeting. But we look forward to working with the committee. And if there are any other members or other folks that are interested in participating in the Conservation Efficiency Committee, feel free to reach out to Kelly and myself. And Kelly is going to be doing most of the meeting logistics and getting those on our calendars. So stay tuned for some meeting notices coming from Kelly in the new year.
That's great. Thank you. Any other members have any questions, additional comments for that committee? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Thank you very much for that. That was great. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so the next agenda item is discussing the next meeting, and I'm checking the chat box, and yes, what I took away from our motion was that we're going to start with the second Tuesday of every other month in February. And so if I have my calculation right, that should be February 9th. And in the afternoon, let's plan on 1 o'clock again. We'll determine how meaty the agenda is, whether it just ends at 3 or whether we need to push it a little longer. But if all of you could mark your calendars, make a note right now for February 9th at 1 o'clock and hold that, that would be great. And then we'll, within the next couple of weeks, we will send out kind of all of the future ones, and we'll get some help putting those up on the website along with Teams links for all of them at the same time. Look, Christine Alexander, you have your hand raised. Help me, let me know if I got that wrong.
No, you're right, Brian. Thank you. Just a quick note for everyone for logistics. We will schedule a 3-hour meeting, and we can always go shorter, okay? It's not a big deal, but we'll just have it in case we need it, okay?
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. We will always strive for time efficiency, but I feel like over this last year or two, we've tried ambitiously a couple times for 2-hour slots and either didn't hit the time or cut down on some conversation that we shouldn't have. So I like that. Thank you, Christine. Any comments about that next meeting? Everybody good? Okay. All right, and we will get out all of the rest ones for next year as soon as possible. Not seeing any hands raised. So now is a good opportunity for open comments. This can be from members about anything that's on your mind, or it can be from the public for things that did not kind of neatly fit into our agenda for the day. If you have something, raise your hand and I'll start pulling people in order, starting with Mr. Yelich.
I just want to thank everybody for all the collaborative work that we've done, because we pulled a lot together, and particularly in the last 10 months during the pandemic. So thank you to everybody and our effectiveness in making things happen. Thank you.
Well said, John.
Dave Lush.
Yeah, I also want to state that I really like the way Christine formatted the report. I think it looks very professional and very clean. So thanks for that.
Thank you. Frank.
Yes, I just want to agree with the things that people have said already about the report, how it looks. I think Dave's comments are well put, and I like that, and I do appreciate the depth of discussion we've had. I'm looking forward to, while this report goes to the legislature, hopefully we will, the next step will be to see if we can get this thing implemented. And so I look forward to the strategizing on how we can work on that. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone else? I'll give it another minute. I'll give you my last comments then while I'm waiting to see if there's other hands. Just personally, I would also like to thank everybody. It's obviously it's been an interesting 2 years coming across the finish line on our first report. All of us becoming more used to working on video meetings. There's a little bit that's lost in that, but I've been really pleased with just how much we have been able to get done over the video format standing in our way. I'd also just just reflect on the fact that as I participate in other ventures with some similarities to this, I think I've grown really accustomed to just how well all of you contribute and make this work. I think I took it for granted, and I've had a couple of occasions to just really reflect on how well everybody engages, does thought contributions, really helps guide this in a way that is impressive when you think about the breadth of issues and then the depth of a lot of those individual issues and everything that needs to be handled, and to come across the a finish line on time, with a very good product and with consensus. I also don't take that for granted that that's our charge, and that we've done a very good job finding consensus recommendations and solutions. And so those things are easy sometimes when you grow used to take it for granted, and I don't. So thank you, all of you, very sincerely for being part of making this work. So thank you. And with that, I guess I'm still not seeing any other hands for open comments. So I will leave with one other one, in that we are at a good reflection point at a 2-year mark, first report. If any of you have any feedback on things that you like, don't like, some needs that you see, stylistic, leadership stuff, topical stuff, if you like it, that's good. But if you have things that you think that we can all improve upon, please send those in to really any of us co-chairs, anybody that you feel comfortable with. And it's a good time to for us to reflect on how we keep improving this effort going forward. So please take a few moments if you have things that you think that we can get better at, and send those in to whoever you're comfortable sending them to. So with that, I'm checking one last time, and I'm not seeing anything. So I would take a motion.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
All right, accepted. I hear a second. And with that, unless there is anybody who objects, I wish you all very happy holidays, safe, healthy ones, and we will be back in touch with a brand new set of meetings and legislative updates, and be back after soon enough. Thank you all.
Stay safe. Everybody stay safe.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy holiday.
Happy holidays.